Hello, everyone. This is Mimi Mordezai. I work on the marketing at Savings Oak. Welcome to another edition of The Right Way to HSA. I'm joined by my wonderful teammates, Niraj and Mark, and I'm going to let them take a moment to introduce themselves.
Mark, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Mark Siebold. I'm the head of sales at Savings Oak. I have a track record in the HSA industry that goes back to 2012. I was the head of marketing at one of the large HSA providers for 7 years. And prior to that, I was in the 401k and advisory space.
Awesome. Thanks. Hi, my name is Neeraj Mathur. I'm the founder and CEO of Savings Oak. And HSAs are near and dear to my heart. They've helped us in the past quite a bit. And very excited to share some of the tips and tricks as well as best practices for small, mid-sized employers and participants alike through this The Right Way to HSA, our program.
Thank you, guys. So last week, we talked a little bit about how you can boost engagement through strategic communications. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a really important topic, plan design. And what are some ways you can encourage your employees to build better savings habits for themselves? So, Mark, I'm going to ask you the first question. On our LinkedIn post this week, we mentioned 3 different strategies: seed, match, reward. Can you talk a little bit about them and which of these 3 strategies potentially has the biggest impact on employee behavior? For instance, which one would get an employee to invest, or which one would get an employee to open an account?
Absolutely. So just to go back in time a bit to last week and talk about engagement in general. We started last week, like you said, Mimi, talking about employee communications and a way to engage people that way to get them to come into the HSA plan, contribute as much money as they can, and invest. That's really the first, I'll actually call it the second pillar of how we engage our employees. The first pillar, which we're talking about today, is how we design the HSA plan. And if you have a 401k plan in place at your business, you're used to plan design when it comes to the 401k in terms of how you set the plan up, how you create your match, do you auto enroll employees. It's the same sort of concept, but now we're applying it to HSA plans. So that plan design component, there's the 3 pieces you mentioned. There's, how do I contribute to the accounts of my employees to get them to come into the plan, put as much money in as they can, and also invest. But there's a step right before that I also throw into the bucket of plan design, and that is, again, similar to 401k, auto enrollment. That's the first thing I look at when it comes to having an optimal plan design is at open enrollment, finding out who enrolled in the high deductible plan or the HSA eligible plan, and then automatically enrolling them into the HSA. There's more steps they need to take to actually get that account open and funded, but to at least get the bones, we'll call it, of the account open, so they start to get communications through an auto enrollment process is really the first key. Once you do that, then it's about how do I incentivize people to complete that process, so get the account fully open, and then 2, put their own money into the account, the pre-tax dollars, because that's the best way to get people to grow their balance over time, is to have them put their own money in. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And the third piece is we talk a lot at Savings Oak about getting people to invest. We want every HSA account holder to be investing at least some of their HSA dollars. So they're using the HSA as a long-term retirement account, similar to the 401k, but for medical expenses. So the 3 ways you can do that in terms of contributing and incentivizing people is first a seed, meaning I seed the account. Typically, you'll do that in January or at the start of your enrollment period to get people to see the account, that it exists, there's money in it, get them interested in it a little bit more so they'll come in and learn. And I think it's a good strategy. I don't think it's the best strategy. Again, to get to those goals that we want of having people put their own money into the plan and then also invest. The better strategy, I think, is a match, similar to the 401k. When you communicate to your employees that you're going to match their pre-tax contributions, that's just that much more incentive for them to figure out how to get their own money in, because now I can get free money from my employer. Versus a seed, if you're just giving them that money, it's a great thing. It's going to draw some interest. However, what happens a lot of times is people see that free those free dollars and they go and spend it. So they're not incentivized to put their own money in the plan and get completely engaged with the HSA like we want. The match is the better bet. Then the third component is some sort of a reward system, where you're rewarding employees for doing certain things that are in their best interest when it comes to their HSA, such as completing the enrollment in their account, putting their own pre-tax dollars in, and then also investing. It could be a stock award, it could be a cash award, but some sort of award/reward that's going to get people interested and then want to get more engaged with the plan. So those are your three options. The best option, if you can afford it, is to do all three. So give them a little bit of money right when they open the account. Again, get them interested, get them engaged. Match as well, incentivize them to put their own money in, and then reward as they hit certain milestones, maybe balance thresholds, again, maybe investing, where they're engaged in the right behaviors that will end up helping them in the long term.
Really interesting points. So if you can, do all three. But it sounds like as you move down the grade, down, it should be account or matching and reward are the ones that are kind of the best.
Yeah. If I was going to start, if you said you have to start and only choose one, I would start with a match.
Okay. Nice. Good to know. Niraj, so with your background in the 401k space, can you talk a little bit about some strategies that 401ks use that are also applicable to HSAs?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. Mark touched on a couple of things already. One on the side of the auto enrollment is actually a strategy that's been very heavily used in the 401k space. And it actually not only has been used, it's been used very effectively to make sure that most people are availing a key benefit. So that's one. Wherever possible, as Mark pointed out from a plan design standpoint, if you can enable that in your plan design to actually have people auto enrolled and be contributing to that. The second bit is not just from a 401k standpoint, but I also want to talk a little bit about the differences and the advantages of either of these the extremely beneficial benefits that are out there. One on the side of investments. We know that both 401k as well as health savings account, HSAs, allow for the ability for participants to be able to invest the dollars that they're allocating into these benefits. More important than not, many times people are confused between, well, can I actually invest my dollars in HSA? The short answer is you absolutely are eligible to do it. It is possible that either your plan or the vendor you are with may have a arbitrary limit before they allow you to invest. From our perspective, speaking only for Savings Oak, that's a $0. You can start day one, be eligible to actually invest money in your HSA dollars. Right. The second thing is to kind of think about, we all look at 401ks as a retirement mechanism. HSAs are very similar to that. Health savings account should be also looked at as an additional augmented retirement savings vehicle, predominantly for healthcare expenses. And the idea behind that being, unlike a 401k, if you do have a qualified medical expense and you need to pull money out of your HSA, there is no penalty. There is no age limit for that. So you never lose the money. The money continues to grow. The power of compounding in an HSA comes to your rescue and aid, allowing you to actually build a kitty of money to be spending on your healthcare. We are all, as we grow older, healthcare expenses for us and for our dependents are going to continue to rise. And there's a study out there that you may need $320,000 between your retirement at the age of 65 to what. So if you think about it, you're looking at $10,000 to $15,000 per year post-retirement to be spending on your healthcare post-retirement. So something to kind of think about. The other aspect that it's coming in the 401k space, but now something it's very relevant to HSAs is not only are you investing money in just the standard traditional target date funds or mutual funds, you should also be looking at ETFs and potentially moving forward other vehicles, asset classes such as digital currencies. So this is where a lot of the traditional thinking has changed. We've often said this whole thing in 401k saying set it and forget it. What I'd like for people to think about is, yes, absolutely set it, but don't forget about it. Go be actively engaged with that portfolio of yours, not just from a standpoint of taking money out or thinking about ways to take money out, but make sure that it's diversified enough. Make sure that you're actively involved to be able to leverage the power of compounding and have it rebalanced, either auto rebalanced. There are several players in the market that allow for that, capabilities that allow for that. We are one of them. But be watchful of your retirement savings. This whole traditional model of set it and forget it, I think as an industry, we've done a disservice to people because then they just really don't worry about it. So many times I speak with SMB participants and employers, and one of the biggest things is like engagement is down. Well, engagement is down because we've set it up in such a fashion that people really don't think about it until they really need it, or it's tax time, or it's some big event in their life. As a matter of fact, investment is an ongoing exercise that many more people should be looking at. So those are some strategies I would say for 401ks that should be moved over to the HSAs. And in many ways, HSAs are actually going to drive some of the changes downstream onto the 401k side as well. I don't know. Mark is an expert. He spent a lot of time doing this as well. Mark, anything that I missed that you would like to add to that?
Well, I mean, you said it very, very well. I'll maybe piggyback on a couple of thoughts. The first is around, the investment component of the HSA. And, people are creatures of habit, right? I mean, generally speaking, they have had a 401k typically longer than an HSA account. They've been hopefully contributing to it. They've had an employer match it. They've seen the communications every year that come out and talk about the 401k. So there's a lot of great stuff that's happened there over decades with 401ks that we can mimic with the HSA account and really appeal to people who understand the 401k. It's very similar to the 401k. The other thing with 401ks that a lot of companies will do is there's communications throughout the year. And we talked about this last week a little bit. With the HSA, what I've seen is it's more typical that there'll be lots of communications at open enrollment, and then we're done for the year. Maybe there's something that goes out at tax time, for example, to tell people they need to complete their taxes, and here's HSA information to do that. But there needs to be more communications throughout the year. In fact, right now, and we hit on this last week as well, in the February, early March timeframe is a great time, an excellent time to be communicating with employees. And your lead can be, did you know you can contribute for last year still? You can still max out until April 15th. So it's little things like that throughout the year that are going to remind people about the HSA. And to your point, Neeraj, not forget about it. Take a look at the account. And then the other thing you mentioned, which I think is super helpful, is, again, in the 401k space, to make that comparison, there have been tools in place for many years to help people choose investments and then, like you said, rebalance those investments. That's a newer thing in the HSA space, but those tools are out there now to help people guide them into the right portfolio of funds. Because let's face it, most people aren't investment gurus, right? That's not their expertise in life. So give them the tools that will let them pick the right portfolio of funds. Hopefully it's low cost ETFs, maybe some stocks, maybe low cost mutual funds based on their profile in terms of what's their experience, how long do they have until they need the money, when are they going to retire, and then help them manage those, use a professional money manager to manage those investments on an ongoing basis. Again, so many similarities between 401ks and HSAs. Let's learn from what's worked in the 401k space and now apply that to HSAs.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think, and just one more thing on this, Mimi, if you'll allow me, is the notion of making sure. Mark raised a very good point about not everybody is so well versed with investments, and not only just that. If you typically think about where I believe it's an excellent opportunity for us, not just in the 401k and the HSA and the retirement industry, but overall from a financial education standpoint. Mark talked about how many a times the information provided, particularly around HSAs and 401ks, these are considered benefits. And so the information is offered either at the time of first time employee, so the first 30 days or 45 days where you need to make a call, and then once a year during the enrollment. Instead of providing a continuous education, will allow people to have a better understanding of what do these benefits entail. How can these benefits be actually leveraged beyond just being a benefit, but helping people think about their financial independence, thinking about how do their long-term financial planning. And not all of these are going to be done through a whole menu of, I don't know if you all remember, I started 401k way back when, and you get a large laundry list of funds list. And you're like, okay, where do I go? How much do I put in what is long-term, short-term, mid-cap? What does this all even mean? And so leaving people with that kind of stuff is just kind of like, okay, well, you have it. We got the check mark. Let's move on to the next thing. And let's be very honest. I mean, in the small, mid-sized businesses, there's so much going on in the benefits manager, CFOs, CEOs plate that they really are looking for a partner to come in and allow for their participants, their employees to fully benefit from these benefits, right? And one of the ways to do that is to continuous education, not just do it one time and be done. Second, we talked about this with Erin a couple of weeks ago, is different people learn different way. And so just sending them a PDF file, 30 pages that they're never going to read other than just the part that they need to make a call on and be done with it, is providing information that is easily consumable in a bite-sized chunk in different modalities. Some people learn through videos. Some people learn through PDF documents. Some people will learn through just reading a blog post or something. So making sure continuous education, and this is something we've tried in the 401k space as well, is putting information out there, helping people grab it and grasp it and move forward. So yeah, lots of similarities. And I think there's a very ripe opportunity for us to leverage both sides, 401ks to HSAs and HSAs to 401ks, to help people get a better understanding of their financial situation.
Wonderful. Thank you. So one last question for both of you. If there's one point you want our audience to take away from this live stream, what would it be?
Mark, go for it.
Yeah, I can go first. I wasn't anticipating Neeraj to use the set it and forget it saying. I was going to say that was going to be mine, but he can take that one because I think that's a huge one. For me, it's about, going back to the crux of what this webinar is about. It's about designing the plan in a way that encourages people to put their own money into the plan. Because when they put their own money into the plan, not only are they going to build a balance faster, they're, by design of the HSA paired with a high deductible plan, they're hopefully going to become better consumers of healthcare. Just generally speaking, because now it's their money. They have a little bit higher deductible, lower premiums, but higher deductible on the health plan side. They're saving their own money, not the employer's seed money, as we talked about, but their own pre-tax dollars in the HSA account. So now when they're out, maybe they go to a doctor appointment, a checkup, and the doctor says, you need these 3 tests, because they're thinking, now I'm going to use my own money to pay for those tests. Maybe I'll ask a few more questions to find out, do I really need that now? Or do I need to do it at the hospital? Could I do it at an outpatient clinic? Or there's probably 50 questions they could ask to dig into it to find out, do they really need it? And then what's the best option for them to have the procedure, the test done that's going to be most cost beneficial to them. So for me, that's maybe 1 or 2 of the biggies I'd want to take away.
Yeah, and thank you. That's actually a very good point from your perspective, Mark. And if I can piggyback on that, it's like, besides just promoting, participants to contribute their own money, which allows them to become much more, I don't want to say watchful, careful, but more on the side of being aware of where the money is being spent, how it's being spent, is I am a big believer in the power of compounding, right? I really believe there are 2 sets of people in the world: people who get the power of compounding and people who are yet to discover the true power of compounding, right? So I'm on a mission here to kind of make sure that everybody understands the power of compounding. And the one way to power compounding is don't set and forget. just don't set and forget about anything, particularly when it comes to long-term retirement planning or long-term financial planning, is instead be engaged with it, right? So if you're a small, mid-sized employer, how do you actually ensure the participants, your employees, are actually taking positive action towards being aware of their financial situations, right? How do you help them? Because as a benefit, particularly looking at where we are and how things are changing, not just in the United States, but around the world, and we've been following the story about this great resignation, the days of 7 types of water in a stocked refrigerator are gone, right? People are looking for more tangible ways to be able to have the benefits from their employers, right? And one thing is about financial awareness. More importantly, having ability to know how much do I need, how much do I want to spend, what my spending is going to look like in the future, and so on and so forth. So investments is a key, and allows for people to become aware, allows for people to understand what the mechanics of investments are. I fundamentally believe that financial education should be part of elementary school curriculum because that helps people. And we are taking some of those tenets of education towards financial awareness and pushing through our product. So don't set and forget it. Understand your options, be actively engaged. And if you haven't yet had the chance and opportunity through your employer or through other benefits available to talk to a financial advisor, a financial planner, please take the opportunity to do that, to discover what more you could get out of it, either as an employer or as a participant.
Thank you so much, both. So with that, we have wrapped another edition of The Right Way to HSA. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We're here every week on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Pacific time on LinkedIn and Twitter. If you have any questions, please feel free to go to our website at savingsoak.com. Click on the Contact Us button and ask us your questions, and one of our HSA specialists will get right back to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.